I'm Joan Sackheim, and I am a volunteer docent at the Dali Museum. I liked the idea of a museum about one artist. Our other museum in town, the Museum of Fine Arts, covers antiquities to modern, and it would be a much larger art study. The Salvador Dalí has become my passion. There's a lot to know about him, and he has traveled and lived from, Dali is from New York to Spain and all points in between. Well, my first impression was when I applied to become a docent here, and I met our lovely curator, Joan Sackheim. She interviewed me for the position, and she was my first impression of the Dali. The Morrises were business people and art collectors, and it was an interesting balance between the two, shall we say, jobs that they created for themselves. They had their business, the plastics manufacturing, and then they had this interest in Salvador Dalí and the entire art collecting community. Well, I went on a trip to Spain with the Morrises. The museum offered a 10-day trip to Spain led by Mr. and Mrs. Morris, and we went to Barcelona and Figueres, Cadaqués, Pujol, and Port Lagat. And they were very friendly. They treated us to dinner, and it's a marvelous memory of the Morrises. My favorite story about Dali is personal because it happened on the trip I took to Spain, the 10-day trip with the Morrises in 1983, when we arrived at Gala's castle in Pujol, where Dali was living. Mr. Morris went to the caretaker and asked if he could visit Dali, and evidently Dali said no. And so Mr. Morris was turned away, we were on the bus, but we could see the curtain move in an upstairs window, and we knew that was Dali, and he saw us. I keep my tours fresh by finding some small detail that I can look up. I can either check my extensive library or Google it, and then that one thing leads to another, and before I know it, I've been studying something like Barcelona all over again. My memories of Joan Sackheim are very fond because I feel that she was my introduction to the Dali Museum, and we became really friends. I applied to become a Dali docent in 1983, and she interviewed me, and then she taught the docent training program for almost a year. And if I ever have any questions, I never hesitated to ask her. She always had an open door, and to this day, when we see each other, we're very happy to greet and meet. The Morrises were wonderful people, and I love them dearly. I'll never forget the time I had them over to my home for dinner, and Mr. Morris said, "Joan, your paintings are dirty." The Morrises would be very pleased to see that the community of St. Petersburg accepted the Dali collection and could see Mr. Morris's vision for it becoming a world-class museum.